streaming, I'll let you know when it's live. Just takes a minute to set up. And Jim, I think we're getting some background noise on your end, which is why I muted you, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, and we are good to go.
Okay, great. This is a good evening, everyone. I'd like to read the COCC land acknowledgement. The purpose is to acknowledge someone is to say, I see you. You're significant. The purpose of a land acknowledgement is to recognize and pay respect to the original inhabitants of a specific region. It is an opportunity to express gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory you exist in. COCC would like to acknowledge that the beautiful land our campuses reside on are the original homelands of the Wasco and the Warner Springs people. They ceded this land to the U.S. government in the Treaty of 1855. The Paiute people were forcibly moved to Warner Springs Indian Reservation in 1879. It is also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through the region to the Great Celilo Falls trading grounds, and the Klamath Falls claimed it as their own. Descendants of these original people are thriving members of our communities today, and we acknowledge and thank them as the original stewards of the land. So with that, I'll turn over to you, Jen, for a roll call.
Yep, calling roll, Joe Krenowitz.
Yes.
Laura Kreska Cooper.
Here. I'm here.
Alan Unger.
Here.
Erica Scapfold.
Here.
Jim Porter.
Here.
Aaron Mers.
Here.
Aaron Footmorgan.
Here.
Lori Chesley.
Here.
Alicia Moore.
Here.
Anne-Marie Hamlin.
Here.
Michael Lalonde.
Here.
Laura Bomey.
Here.
Zach Boone.
Here.
Kathleen Knutson.
Here.
Kyle Matthews.
Here.
Shauna Berry.
Here.
Christy Walker.
Here.
Paul Taylor.
Here.
And Jen Kovitz. That ends the roll, Joe.
Thank you. Well, once again, welcome everyone. We're at the point where we'd like to ask if there's any agenda changes or adjustments. Hearing none, we'll go on to the public comment area. This is a time for our public or citizens that have any comments that certainly have the opportunity to address us at this time. And do we have anybody, Jen, on Zoom?
We do not, and we didn't receive any in advance.
Okay, great. So we're at the consent agenda. Is there items on the minutes that we need to address? And if we don't have any, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Joe, I have one.
Okay.
Item 9.1F says motion to approve the new strategic plan, but the motion was to approve the new vision, mission, and values.
Okay. We'll note that and get that correction taken care of. Are there
Jill,
any
I
other
have
ones?
one other quick note in the section, new business, section 2. Item B, it notes that I mentioned some concerns about our lack of presence in Zone 7. And I just wanted to note that it's not only about facilities, that my comments were in reference to presence in the high school and in the community. This isn't just a concern about a lack of facilities in Zone 7. And I think I'd shared a broader, just a broader range of concerns in that conversation.
Okay. We have the staff make those notes and adjustments. Any other items? So with the adjustments and notes to add or adjust for the minutes, I'd entertain a motion.
Move approval of the minutes with changes.
This is Laura, second.
Great. Everyone in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. On to information items. We have Kathleen and Laura here who are available for any questions or comments in regards to the monthly budget status as a new hire reports, if there are any. Okay, let's go on to new business, electrical contract. Michael.
So we have two contracts that we need the board approval on. Sorry, I just dropped my mouse.
Never happens.
And we need board approval is that they are over $100,000 and they're new contracts. So one is to redo the electrical on campus, and the other one is to fix the HVAC problem that we have in Redmond. We budgeted for 2, but all 8 failed. So we have to replace those.
Okay. So these are all over 100,000. You need to come to the board for that approval. What if you can give us a kind of summary, Michael? What is the process for something this large, as well as instead of having 2, we're replacing 8 of them?
So we look to see if we have enough funds in the account, and then it goes through our contract review process. The contract is reviewed by Charla, and then I review it as well. And then if it's under 100,000, I would normally just sign it and move it forward. But in this case, and I didn't know this, because it was 100,000, it needs prior board approval, even if it was approved in the budget process as a project.
Great. Are there any other questions regards to the electrical contracts that need to be need approval from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
This is Laura. I'll second.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. Everyone approve? Agree? Please say aye. Or raise
Aye.
your hand.
Aye.
Any disapproval? Okay. All right.
Joe, did we approve both or just one of them?
The electrical contract. I guess I'm gonna have to ask Michael. I assume it was electrical contracts.
Yeah, we need approval for both of them.
Okay.
It's 2 separate contracts,
Okay.
both over 100,000.
Okay.
Then I'll move approval of the HVAC purchase.
Is there a second on the approval of the HVAC purchase?
This is Laura. I'll move. I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, everyone in agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Hey, thank you, Michael, and Alan, thanks for that clarification. So we're on to Jen in regards to the Lightcast Economic Impact Study.
Great, thank you. Just give me a minute to share my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So in August of this year, the Oregon Community College Association, or OCCA, released data on the overall statewide economic impact of Oregon's community colleges, as well as the economic impact of each community college within their specific districts. So these comprehensive analyses are conducted every few years by a leading independent labor market analytics firm called Lightcast. And the reports are commissioned by both the OCCA and the state's 17 community colleges. The data that Lightcast used for the current reports spans fiscal year 2021, 2022, and Lightcast drew from many sources, including academic and financial data from each of the state's community colleges, as well as pertinent industry and employment data collated from authoritative bodies such as the US Census Bureau, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, etc. So the statewide community college economic impact report notes that Oregon community colleges collectively generate an impressive $9.6 billion in annual economic impact while supporting 1 out of every 22 jobs in the state. In your board packet this month, you'll see an executive summary of COCC's specific economic impact report, and I hope you've either had a chance to read through it or you'll do so after this meeting. It's going to provide a lot more detail and methodology for you than I'm able to provide tonight. Tonight, though, I do just want to share a few of the highlights from our report. So, notably, in fiscal year 2021-2022, COCC added just under $290 million in income to the COCC district economy through operations, student spending, and alumni impact. And the report notes that this impact is equal to approximately 2% of the total gross regional GRP of Central Oregon. All right, let's look at that in another way. Expressed in another way, we can look at the number of jobs that COCC's economic impact supports. And Lightcast defines this number using a jobs to sales ratio specific to every industry. So our roughly $289 million impact supported 3,562 regional jobs, or 1 out of every 43 jobs in the district is supported by COCC and our students. And you might ask, okay, but how does all this data actually relate back to our students? What's the value to them? And the standout number for me in our economic impact report is an $8,000 increase in graduate earning each year. So what this number tells us is that the average associate degree graduate from COCC will see an increase in earnings of $8,000 each year compared to a person with just a high school diploma or equivalent working anywhere in the state of Oregon. And over a working lifetime, these earnings compound, and the benefits of an associate degree compared to a high school diploma amount to $280,000 in higher earnings per graduate over their earning lifetime. These student earnings, in turn, translate into an annual COCC students investment of 22.7% average annual internal rate of return. And for comparison, this is really impressive when you compare it to something like the US stock market's 30-year average rate of return of 9.6%. So 22.7% student return for COCC versus the stock market 30-year average of 9.6%. Overall, COCC's economic impact amounts to just under $530 million in social benefits. And Lightcast defines social benefits as added student income to our region, added income from college activities, the money we spend on local businesses and invest in our partners, added business income, and the social savings related to better outcomes in health and judiciary outcomes related to higher education graduation rates. So with that, it's a lot of data. Any questions?
Jen, is that 528 million? That's a benefit annually, right?
Correct, yes. And the on the final page of the economic or of the executive summary in your board packet, it really spells out in much more detail what those social benefits include and the different ways that they're calculating specifically savings.
Okay.
Jen, when was the last time, and maybe it's in the packet, the last time we received data from this type of study?
The last time the report, we received the report was in the 2020-2021 year, but the data was from the 2018-2019 fiscal year.
Got it.
And so
Okay.
there,
And I know you said that it's done every few years. Do we know when the study is taking place again?
Lori, do you want to speak to how this came up with the President's Council and OCCA?
Sure. The OCCA, with OPC's support, has a contract with Lightcast. They do a number of different kinds of studies for community colleges, and they have a number of different tools. We have voted to have Lightcast do our study again. I believe that happens the year after next. So in 2 years, we'll see that again.
Jen?
I should also know that given that the OPC has approved this, it is not a cost borne by the individual community colleges. It's a cost borne from the Community College Strategic Fund, which the Oregon Community College presidents have oversight of. HEC manages that fund, and we make requests from it. So this is not something that we have had to pay for individually.
So what do we do with this information? I mean, it's great and it really is impressive, but what's our next steps with it?
That's a great question, Alan. So we received this information in August. And we coordinated with the other 16 community colleges across the state and with OCCA, and we released a big press announcement about it. So there was a statewide news release, and there was an individual college release where we talked about this impact. That was picked up on statewide media, OPB, and the Oregonian, for example, as well as locally here. I know Michael Lalonde did an interview with local media about it for us, for example. We also turned it into a social media campaign on COCC's social accounts so that each of those facts that you see are actually broken down and deployed across our social media so that we're communicating each of those facts kind of and touting them independently. We're also putting together a resource for Dr. Chesley, FLT members, board members, a sort of 6-page pamphlet that will include not only things like our strategic plan and facts about the college, but also these key points so that when you're out meeting with partners, you'll actually be able to have these talking points in an infographic style. And then the final plan we have for it is for it actually to be featured in a page of COCC magazine that comes out in March.
And I just really kudos to Jen for recognizing the many ways that this can be a great tool for our college. We haven't always done that, and Jen has initiated most, if not all, of those efforts. The OCCA also uses it, and we will as well individually, as a legislative advocacy tool. So as we go into the next session, when we want to advocate for community colleges, this is often information that we share.
Joe, can I say something real quick about that too? I think this is Laura. I think this is information that we as trustees have an obligation to spread far and wide and enthusiastically.
One of the things, Laura and I were having a conversation just the other day, and she said, do we still have those fact books we used to have? And I said, we absolutely do, and they're being updated with a bit of new information. And so Laura, part of what they're being updated with, and we'll get the fresh copies out to the board as soon as we can is, as Jen said, the Lightcast data.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to those books because those bullet points are easy to remember and repeat when you're in conversations. And that's yeah, I'm really, this study is always so impressive. So giving us those talking points to share out in the community is so helpful, and also get the message out. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, Laura Cooper is on in traveling mode right at the moment, so she's probably not going to be in a verbal position. So, but she'll be listening in. If there's any other additional items to be discussed, we can certainly cover that at another time. Okay, is there any other questions in regards to this forecast, economic forecast, or economic impact study that has been presented? So with that, let's go on to old business, and we got kind of hit by a quad squad here on diversity hiring plan and data update. I'll turn it over to you, Alicia.
All right, sounds good. Give me just a minute here to share my screen and introduce some colleagues you may or may not have met previously. And okay, there we go. Happy to talk with you here tonight about what we are calling our culturally inclusive hiring practices work. And with me tonight, you'll meet him at various points of the presentation, is Shauna Berry, our HR operations manager, Laura Bomey, who you've talked with on many occasions as our chief information and HR officer, and Christy Walker, our director of diversity and inclusion. And so we want to just give you a little bit of an overview in the background and really focus on where we are with our data and where we want to go in the future. So just as a reminder for folks who haven't been in on these conversations in the past, or to refresh your memories, is we did some intentional work in the last couple of years with the goal of increasing the diversity of our applicant pool and ultimately of our employees, right? And some of the work that led up to that is looking back during the 2021-22 academic year. Shauna, Lori, Christy, and I worked together to develop a series of recommendations around culturally inclusive practices to really increase that diversity of our pool. And we're looking at diversity both from an ethnic standpoint, geographic reach standpoint, gender, you name it, looking at it in a very broad way. We then, in May of 22, shared that report with the COCC board and with our employees, and started working on some of that over this last year. Last month, during the board meeting, we shared with you one of the action projects with our 2023 to 27 strategic plan. And this continued work and continued focus on this area is certainly part of our new strategic plan. And then ongoing, from here on out, we have an implementation team as part of our strategic plan to be chaired by Shauna Berry and Christy Walker, and have volunteers from across the college to really start implementing and refine some of those practices. So with that very quick background, I'm going to turn it over to Shauna to talk us through some of the data that helps give us a foundation of where we are.
Great. Thank you, Alicia. Happy to be here tonight. Thanks for the opportunity. And my name is Shauna Berry. So first, we want to start with an overview of the data we track as it relates to this topic. And we can track from the point of which we start the hiring process through the actual hiring of the employee. So really from a high level view, or high level of actual number of postings we put out, and then funnel it down number of applicants on down to actual applicants of color hired. So that's a quick overview, but as we wanted to choose a most effective starting point, we started this graph with the applicants who responded to the voluntary demographic questions when they applied. And then each of these data points is really based on the one immediately before. So for example, in 2023, and this is year to date, January 1 through mid-September when we ran these numbers, so 65.4% of applicants voluntarily responded to the demographic questions. And of that percentage, 24.3 responded that they were applicants of color. And then from there, 20% of those were interviewed. And then from that data point, there are 56.2 applicants of color hired. So we went back and did this for a couple years, but this is the most updated for 2023. And then we wanted to take it a step further and compare our COCC benefited employees to our service district, 18 years or older. And our service district is where the significant number of our benefited employees are hired from. So as you can see, the actual numbers in the categories other than Hispanic or Latinx and white are quite small for actual numbers, but we track those. And then we do definitely, as we look across Hispanic and Latinx, it's 9.7% Central Oregon, and then 6.7% for employees. So we definitely have some work to do in all the categories. We want to improve them all, but we look at that category kind of stands out. And then our ultimate goal, of course, is to ensure our employees mirror our students. And we know that that leads to a stronger sense of connection and belonging for many of our students, and in particular, students of color. So we wanted to pull out the data that talks about our employees as compared to our students. We don't currently track the no response or chose not to respond or 2+ ethnicities for employees, but that is somewhere that we will want to consider tracking in the future. So it definitely mirrors the data we have from our students. Now, with that data and information as a background, we'd like to talk to you about our current activities, and I'll hand this over to Laura Bomey.
Thanks, Shauna. I appreciate that. So Alicia will present here in a moment so I can walk through. Great, thank you. So these are a listing of current activities that both our groups are doing to enhance recruitment for a diverse group of individuals. And so the first one here, Alicia mentioned just a little bit, but we have actively been working with Christy's group. Shauna and Christy work together to provide the Culturally Respectful Hiring Practices workshop. In our job postings, we have done a number of things over the last few years, one of which that has been very helpful is to also work with Christy to get a broader dissemination of our postings. And so we work with her to ensure we're going out to a number of diverse areas to advertise. And then a couple of these other ones relate to the process of the hiring process and the posting, as Shauna mentioned. So for example, in every job description, there's a section, knowledge, skills, and abilities, that also gets represented in the job posting. We've been adding new language about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in those job descriptions and postings. And then one big area that we've done over this last year is to streamline our internal system that we use for job applications. We've made it much simpler and really worked to remove any form of barriers to answering questions or completing that process. And then we have a big database of interview questions that hiring teams may use, and we have made sure that we're doing a regular review on those questions with Christy and ensuring we have a broader set of questions that take into account the varied interests and diverse elements that people might be involved in. And then we also have done an annual job title review to look for areas where our job titles might not be consistent with what the market would say in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and also to remove any bias. Additionally, as Shauna mentioned, we have worked very hard to gather more voluntary feedback through our application process and also from our employees, because that will help us better target our services and our recruiting efforts. And then lastly, before we move on, we have an employee video here that I'm going to turn it back over to Alicia, but real quickly, I just wanted to mention that all of these efforts in truth are really towards making sure that we prioritize efforts at having a diverse applicant pool, a diverse set of employees, and also, as Shauna mentioned, to try to mirror more closely the student population that we serve. And so there are a number of people that are involved in all of these activities, and trying to make sure that changing perceptions about COCC and Central Oregon, will take time, but we believe we are making progress. So I'll turn it over to Alicia for the video, and thank you for your time on this.
Hey, give me just 1 second to fix something with the video, make sure it's going to do what we want it to do. All right, you may need to turn up the sound on your own personal screen or personal computer just to ensure that the video plays loudly enough for you, since it's streaming from another site.
And Alicia, we're getting those weird bars again.
As I come up the hill, I roll onto campus, and my smile just starts getting bigger because I know I'm going to come see my friends that I work with every day, who are top quality people, and also I get to help make the campus a better place. That's what I like about coming to work.
My family and I, we get to take classes for free. We get to sit in and learn all these cool new opportunities. We can use the gym for free. We get to go walk around this gorgeous campus.
So I do remember what it was like to not have health insurance. So I really do love the health insurance as benefits. I love that it covers Western medicine as well as things that are maybe not as traditional, like acupuncture.
The benefit I appreciate most at COCC is my healthcare benefit. We have outstanding healthcare at a very affordable cost. It's a benefit that's very important to me and my family.
One of the benefits that I feel is access to ideas. This is a place where you can grow, and the college is committed to the individuals who are here, who call this place their workplace.
An employee benefit that I deeply appreciate at COCC is the tuition benefits, whether it's through community education. You can have, really awesome classes like sewing, if you're a terrible sewer like me, or 4 credit classes if you want to pursue another associate's degree or a bachelor's degree.
In the almost 20 years that I've been here, that's the piece that I always come back to, is this is a great place to work because of the people who are here to support that shared vision.
All right, we'll go ahead now and turn this over to Christy Walker, our Director of Diversity and Inclusion, to talk about some of the potential future directions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Walker. I use she, her, aya pronouns, and I just want to say happy National Coming Out Day to everybody. So some of our future strategies does couple with some of the things that we're already doing. It does just expand it all. And so Laura talked about reviewing and updating DEIB, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging interview question bank. It's important for us to review those yearly because of current trends and changes in language to make sure that we are upholding the values of DEIB. Also including the DEIB statement for primary purpose statement, because we also want to make sure that we are sharing COCC's commitment to this work. And then a minimum skills section, or using a supplemental question, because the idea behind this, and also updating the equivalency statement, is to really try to draw more diverse crowds into actually applying, and in particular more women and more people from the BILAPOC community. We also would like to clarify hiring committee membership. It's really important to have a diverse hiring committee. We ideally would love to have a minimum of 1 person who's taken the culturally respectful hiring practices training on every diversity committee. But really the end goal is to have every person on the hiring committee having taken that training. And then developing a process to regularly report on hiring and employee demographics, which again, Laura, and I think every one of us has mentioned that so far. Some other future strategies are also included in expanding the COCC's brand awareness on key hiring sites, but not just when we are hiring. So making sure that we have the COCC brand name out there and showing that COCC is a good place to work for, which, we're very proud of that. And as many of you might know, we just earned that the coveted spot from the source of being the best place to work in Central Oregon. And that's something to be really proud of. re-engaging in local and online hiring fairs. And so we have been pretty successful in having our own hiring fairs. And yes, the height of COVID did stop some of the incredible work that had been happening, but it's important for us to not only hold our own hiring fairs, but also to be participants in other community opportunities and other fairs that we're not necessarily in charge of, but we are a part of. And then these last two, of evaluating the policies for reimbursing costs for interviewees or moving costs. This is a policy that hasn't been reviewed in quite some time, and it's something that really bears reviewing so that we can really broaden our reach and hopefully expand the geographic scope of who we're bringing into our areas, and again, you know, achieving our goal of having a more diverse employee workforce here. And so with that, I'm going to leave it to Alicia to bring us home.
All right. Thanks, Christy and Shauna and Laura. As the four of us were meeting over the last month or so to put this presentation together and thinking about what are the things we've learned in about the last 18 months since we first started doing this work. And a big piece of getting us started was really having the tools and metrics in order to be able to track our data. Through our last strategic plan, we were able to put money towards that work, and HR has done a great job in ensuring that we have access to data, as you see tonight, at ethnicity level, and working to improve that for other demographic factors. We do notice that we do attract and interview and actually hire ethnically diverse candidates, but our results aren't consistent, and they vary from year to year. And so we believe that over time, this next bullet point, that more comprehensive approaches and all the future strategies Laura mentioned will produce longer term and more consistent successes. And that's what we hear from our colleagues in the private sector HR world, public sector, higher education, HR world. And so that's been a good goalpost for us to aim for. We also know we've got work to do, and we're really excited that the college has chosen to put energy towards this work through our next strategic plan, as that gives college-wide emphasis in ensuring that this is valued in all pockets of the institution and that everyone has an ability to contribute to that. So with that, we'll wrap it up, and happy to answer any questions that anyone may have that we can answer for you.
Can I? Oh, I don't want to stop questions. Go ahead, Erin. I'll go later.
Erin, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say first and foremost what I just want to give a lot of credit to all of the leadership of the staff. This just looks like an absolutely excellent effort, from data to all of the new practices you've woven into the process and thinking about future steps. It's just a lot of leadership. Great work, everybody. I'm so glad to be on this board where we've prioritized this. Wanted to just quickly ask about goals. We mentioned specifically the alignment of our faculty with students in terms of our student population. Can you just share, are there other specific goals that we have for our hiring work that you could share with us?
I mean, I think that's the ultimate outcome of the work, right? If we can increase the diversity of our applicant pool and then ultimately have an employee base that mirrors our student population, that's the kind of the big overarching umbrella goal that we're aiming for. And that's grounded in DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work that, especially in educational settings, as students can see themselves reflected in the people that are supporting them, the folks that are teaching them, they're likely to have a greater sense of belonging, greater sense of connection, which all leads to greater success. In terms of setting other goals, that's a little bit of where Shauna and Christy's work group with the strategic plan action team will come into play. And those are just literally this week. Today at 5 was the deadline for people to volunteer for those. And so we'll, and this next week or two, get those groups started. And part of their job will be to set specific assessment metrics that at some point, January-ish, if you remember from the last board meeting, we'll be coming back to the board to share those.
I'd like to add something to that. Alicia's right on that the representation piece is tremendous. But not only for the students, but also for our fellow colleagues. It can be a very isolating place when you are the only one from a particular cultural group. And so attracting a more diverse population to be part of our COCC community can really help expand that sense of belonging and community. So I think it goes twofold.
I have a lot of questions, but I'll just be quiet for a minute and let others ask.
I'll jump in. I just want to echo Erin's sentiment. Really awesome to see this in terms of recruitment and hiring. I'm curious if you can comment on retention at all and diversity metrics around retention and, keeping the folks that we bring in.
Retention of employees, I assume, in this case, Erin?
Yes.
Yes. Laura, Shauna, I don't know if you have that data off the top of your head. I think we can get there, but I don't know if we're prepared to answer that tonight.
We don't necessarily have that tonight. One of the challenges, which we've had is, a lot of this stuff is voluntary. And so our best opportunity is gathering the information when people apply. And so that's what we're trying to develop is the information from the beginning, so I can honestly say over the last couple of years, but prior to like 2019, there was not a consistent way of gathering it. So we don't have it in a form that we could probably present very effectively right now. But I would say in terms of retention, one of the other challenges is we've had, or just like many organizations over the last couple of years, just a lot of turnover and a lot of hiring. We are actually in, a much better spot than we were even a year and a half ago in terms of getting individuals in our applicant pool. So we are seeing our applicant pools really grow, which is great. So it's a good question. Probably another thing we need to add into that strategic plan group to see how we get other points in time where employees could report on their demographics and ethnicity.
And I would add to that for Erin, I'm looking at the list of tentative assessment metrics we have for our strategic plan right now. And for our college sustainability goal, one of the tentative metrics is employee retention. And looking at that at broad base. But as Laura said, going prior to 2019, we did not electronically track demographics of employees. And so it would literally be going paper by paper for 400 people to get that data. So we need to work our way that direction. So we'll see if there's interim measures we can do between now and having a more robust system to do that.
I think it's also important to note that the reason why somebody leaves is it's very inconsistent, right? So, a person of color might leave the college not necessarily because they didn't feel welcome and supported. It might be because their family moved away, or you can fill in the blank with so many reasons. And so I think that that can get a little bit tricky. That we don't want to make any assumptions about why people are leaving. Now, if we see trends that like, wow, all of the BIPOC community is leaving, then we've got a problem. But really, it's a difficult thing to predict because there's just so many different variables in there.
Thank you.
Well, this is Alan. My perception is that we do even a better job hiring than what the numbers see, because we bring people to Central Oregon, hire them, and then some of them will be hired on by other agencies or groups who are looking for more diversity. So in some ways, I think that's a good job we're doing, is bringing more people to the area. And that maybe we can't offer the package other agencies can to keep them. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I perceive.
And I think that, Alan, that goes back to Christy's comment. We can never assume why an employee leaves. And we had questions about that who came up here a couple of years ago. And when we talked through the employees that people were asking about, it's like, this person left because they got a fantastic job in a partner institution. This person moved on because they had family with health issues. This person moved because their partner got a job in another community. So it wasn't, those answers and the reasons why someone leaves are greatly varied.
May I ask you a very new board member question?
Absolutely.
I'm a little embarrassed not to know the answer to this already, but do we have an overall DEI vision for the school?
Christy, do you want to talk real briefly to that? Since the diversity committee leads that work?
We do. We have a diversity plan, and which actually other institutions have borrowed to lead some of their work, which is pretty fun and exciting, I think. but we do. And I think that also, if you look at the new strategic plan, it's very easy to see that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is embedded throughout the plan and not just in the areas that specifically name it. So I think that that coupled with the diversity plan that we have a very strong initiative, and goals, values, all of it does align, and it's pretty exciting to see.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, if there aren't any more questions, I wanted to share something that our newer board members may not know. And I appreciate Erin's compliments to the staff who are doing this work, because they are awesome in what they do and how they lead. The actual origins of this effort around culturally inclusive diversity hiring more diverse candidates and retaining actually comes from the board. And I'll give a particular shout out to Oliver Tatum, who is one of the first folks who raised our need to do better. And he and the board decided that would become part of board policy, that I would as the president, and that means I asked my really great staff to do, of course, all the work, that the president would annually give a report on diversity hiring. And so this is year 2 of that reporting plan that the board members actually asked for. So I wanted to bring that up too, because it's one of the ways in which board members, can have really, really positive influence on a college. So that was all I wanted to say.
It would be wonderful to work through that. Just a quick high level review of the diversity plan together with the board. And maybe, I don't know when the right time is for that, but would be really grateful to learn more.
Sure. I think it could be a presentation at a future meeting, Christy? Or not. We'll talk about it offline. We'll make sure that you learn more about our diversity plan.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Certainly, I appreciate our new board members being on board. Do not ever feel bad about asking questions as a new board member, because at one point in time, any one of us have been a new board member to COCC. It may not be a new board member ever, but to the least to this organization. And this organization is not easy to figure out, let alone track. It does take a little bit of a learning curve, which is generally straight up for a fair amount of time. So please ask questions. Don't be embarrassed. Okay, so with that, we'll go on to board directors operations. Laura and Jim are on airplanes somewhere. So I'm going to start off with Alan, and then we'll follow up with the Aaron folks. Alan?
Sure. On October 6th, I attended the Oregon Community College board meeting that was held in Eugene at Lane Community College. I zoomed in because I was helping learn how to take care of my 18-month-old grandchild, but I still learned a lot. And I also wanted to say that the OCCA Fall Conference is in Sun River first weekend of November, and I would encourage as many people who want to sign up and go. There's a lot of networking that you can learn from. It's close, you can get there easy, you just learn a lot. And if you go online to OCCA17.org, you can see that they've put a lot of the agenda, the workshops they do online, and you can choose and pick which ones you are interested in going to. And hey, go to one or two if nothing else, but the dinner is interesting too. So I'm just encouraging people to go to that.
Great, thank you. So Aaron Foote.
Thank you. I wanted to just say a thanks to Zach Boone for, in our last meeting, making a recommendation that I connect with Vicki Russell down in South County. She's absolutely lovely. We had a wonderful call. and are going to get together when when we're both back in town, and was able to really help me understand a lot more of the history of all of the great work that we have done in South County to try to gain traction with building programs there in the past, and some of what those challenges may have been around why those didn't really get a lot of traction. And shortly after that, I had a great meeting with Scott Olszewski, who is the new principal down at La Pine High School, and an absolutely wonderful resource for La Pine. He's comes from Mountain View High School, where you all probably know so much dual enrollment focus there at Mountain View. And he kind of brings that excitement about connection between the high school and COCC, and is ready to stick around there for a really long time and try to stop that revolving door of leadership at La Pine High School, which I think is a new opportunity for COCC to make connections. He's very excited about that, and shared an email with Lori, CC'd you, Joe, and Laura on that. And I know Lori's following up a little bit on that one, and we'll just see what can happen. And then lastly, I am in Las Vegas. That's bright lights of Las Vegas out there at the ACCT conference, and been excited to visit with the under 45 caucus today. So just to be clear, still under 45, y'all. And very focused on a lot of trainings around workforce development, DEI, and student success, and how we define student success and what we measure there. And then just really looking at new strategies for connecting with hard to reach populations in rural areas. And with that, I'll zip it.
Okay, Erin Mertz.
Sure. On September 26th, I attended the foundation joint meeting and retreat. I'm the liaison to that foundation, as a reminder, which is why I attended that. It was really wonderful to meet that board and get a sense of what they're up to. And what I want to share back to this group that felt there was some repetitive content we've seen before as a board, so I don't need to kind of recap all of that. The Madras expansion, for example, vision, mission, values, some action items for the strategic plan. But one great update was from the scholarship committee, and the team ended up having over $2 million to give out in scholarships this year, which I believe, Zach, was higher than anticipated. So that was really wonderful to hear that the philanthropy is doing well and creating all these great scholarship opportunities for our students. 2 years ago, the scholarship committee added an additional cycle. So there are 2 application cycles during the year, one in the spring and one in the fall. And that has resulted in increased scholarship applications. So that's also very exciting to see that those changes are really having an impact. And then 2 policy changes are coming up that will take effect next year, I believe. One is that they're going to extend the word count of the narrative responses to the questions. Right now, I think it's like 200 words, and they're expanding to 300, which, understandably, you don't want them too long, but 200 words is very, very short. So I think that's a great move to give students additional opportunity to express why they're good candidates for these scholarships. And then secondly, another policy amendment is about scholarship eligibility, because if you have a scholarship, and Zach, please correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but if you are currently earning a scholarship and then you leave school for any reason, then you become ineligible to apply for scholarships again. So that's a pretty big barrier that they're removing. So you would, within certain, I think there might still be some certain restrictions around that, but they're going to give students an opportunity to apply for scholarships again if they have to leave school and then re-enroll, that they're again eligible to apply for scholarships.
Nailed it. Perfect.
Oh, great. So that's my update back from the foundation. On October 6th, and Erin was there as well as Jim, we went to lunch with William Smith properties, which was a great opportunity to get to know those folks and hear about the development history on campus and kind of the plans for the future in a more intimate setting. So that was really lovely. And I know they come and report back to the board periodically when there's news to share, but it was really great to get to know those folks. And then of course, I'm also in Las Vegas. So, you know, this week here at ACCT, it's been really great. I've learned a lot.
Okay. Have not had any meetings, and in the meetings I was supposed to be at, I wasn't available. So at this point in time, we'll turn it over to President Chesley. And
Oh, wait, Joe.
Oh, Erica, I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah.
You moved around on me every time people
Oh
talk.
yeah, yeah. And I'm going through my browser so I can like only see the person that's talking. So I don't know. I forgot how to do online, I guess. So this month I've gotten to be in conversations with St. Charles, OSU Cascade or OSU Cascades and COCC about an accelerated BSN program. Time
out. What is a DSN?
BSN is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing.
Thank you.
Yes. And so it would be through OHSU, but they'd partner with COCC. So it's pretty exciting that that may be a program that we have here in Central Oregon. You know, we have the ASN for nursing at COCC that's offered, and we're looking at offering the additional 2 years to have the BSN, but to be able to partner and also bring in an accelerated program where people who already have a bachelor's can get into the nursing profession is like very exciting. So people from St. Charles and a group met and they toured COCC to look at the sim space and some different areas. And then I got to meet them when they came back to St. Charles to show them our space. So it just so exciting. But that's all I have to report.
Right. And I believe I got all the board members. So with that, let's go over to President Chesley. If you have any reports.
Hey, I'm going to keep it really brief. As Christy alluded to, today is National Coming Out Day, and there have been activities today on all 4 of our campuses, giveaways, and treats for LGBTQ plus folks, that community, and also for allies. And so we're happy to be celebrating that today. And we've also been busy with job fests today in Redmond and Madras, and Bend next week, and Prineville October 24th. And these are completely filled with regional and local employers. There are 25 employers at our branch campuses at each site, 50 in Bend, and our students can stop by and talk about job opportunities, career paths, internships, and the like. And so a lot of work has gone into that, and we're really happy about it. And then we are also in the middle of Latinx Heritage Month. That is October, and there are quite a number of activities on our campus throughout the month. And I'll send you to our website to take a look at when all of those are. And then I was also reminded, as one final point, that we sort of have a media darling on our staff now. Alicia Moore just knocked it out of the ballpark with her OPB radio interview, Thinking Out Loud. Was that just yesterday, Alicia?
Yes, I'm still recovering.
You're still recovering, but I say you got a bright future in the media. So thanks very much for doing that. And I really appreciate it. And that's my report.
Great. Thank you. So if someone can send us Alicia's link to her.
In the chat, Jen put it in the chat along with the registration for OCCA. So make sure you all open up the chat tonight. There's always good stuff there.
Oh, great. Thanks. You're ahead of me. Which doesn't take much to be ahead of me. Okay, with that, just to call out, we can all read the dates and what's going on, but I think the call out, they want to make sure we get them October 27th and 28th. We had our board of directors retreat, very important. If you're unable to make it, we can certainly understand, but please make every effort to be there. Very important. We do have one-on-one with our SLT team at various points of that day and a half. And of course, we have to put up with the president for both days. So with that,
I'm very sorry.
is there anything else we need to cover that hasn't been, or any comments? So with that, this is going to be my shortest meeting so far in my tenure for this round as being chair. We'll call it good. Thank you very much. And we'll see you in short, probably about a week and a half.